you yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Shut up. I'm rich. I'm richer than all this, you Hollywood trash.
A, you can never go too far. B, if I'm gonna get busted, it is not gonna be by a guy like that.
I'll be back.
Here's Johnny.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got our Representative Natalie Zeleznikar. She's been on quite a little bit. We'd like to have her on. Representative, I don't remember because the numbers change, and to be honest, there's a lot of numbers. 3B, where's 3B?
It's up in Hermitown, Proctor,
Okay.
Harbors, Rice Lake, and then a lot of great townships.
Okay, fantastic. I thank you for coming on the program.
Of course.
Before we get into some of the big stuff, I need to ask, because I find it fascinating, your thoughts on you as a Christmas person. Merry Christmas, by the way,
Merry Christmas
from us.
to all the listeners.
Are you one of those that will be at the Quick Trip on Christmas Eve night looking for that one last thing because you were one? Will you be shopping at Christmas Eve? Are you one of the, like my wife, it was done a month and a half ago?
Oh, it'll be done. It's been done. Yes.
All right. Okay. See, this says a lot about a person. Are you, when you say done, that I presume, are you one of those where it looks like your house Santa threw up and sparkles and glitters, or are you what they call now, and we have a word for it. I like saying the word. Hold on. Are you a nearly naked Christmas person?
No.
Which means, no, what?
I've toned down the Santa throw up across the, according to my children, from how I used to do it. And I'm certainly not the naked Santa. I love to go cut all the pine in the woods and fill out my flower pots with pine and birch and sumac, dogwood. And I do it cut a tree for my front porch. So there's pine lit up outside, inside. And then I just love to have the tree, the things up, the lights up. I love to bake cookies. I mean, baking cookies is probably one of the traditions that I carry on from my farm days.
There you go.
My mom and my grandma, and I love to make probably 10 different Christmas cookies. I give them away, bring them to a lot of events. So it's been great.
Oh, good for you. Okay, yeah, the nearly naked Christmas thing evidently is a big deal in the big cities where they call it being minimalist. You put the tree in, but maybe just some lights, so you don't go all out putting baubles on it and all that. To me, that's what I did when I was in my 20s, but it was because I was lazy. I wasn't like cutting edge Christmas decorating. I was just lazy.
Yeah.
So,
well,
right,
I would say that would have been in my college years where I didn't have any money to buy an artificial tree. So that would have been, I qualified for that then. Yes.
2 years in a row, this is no lie. I actually did the Charlie Brown Christmas thing where I got a stick, and then I put one bulb on it and called it Christmas. And wasn't I the funniest guy ever? And I was just lazy. I know it now. I watch my wife work, and it's days upon days of putting things in the right spot. That's not me.
A labor of love to make that whole thing be different on Christmas, which I think it should be. So kudos to all the people out there making it special for everyone.
I know, obviously, I'm going to ask you a question, which I know you obviously saw it yesterday. So, I mean, because you're in tuned. But I want to ask it in a broader sense. If you're not paying close attention and you're just reading headlines and that sort of thing in, let's say, the Star Tribune, the Minnesota paper, you don't have a clue what's going on. This morning, after yesterday's press conference with the U.S. Attorney Thompson, I would have had a whole different headline. Today's headline was something like 5 more people were arrested in feeding or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And that was the minimum. That was the smallest thing that happened yesterday. Now they put in the first paragraph after you get out that the U.S. Attorney General Thompson literally came out yesterday and said, of the 14 programs of Medicare that they're looking at, 14, and there's many more.
Many more.
Of the 14, since 2018, in 7 years, $18 billion has flown through those programs. $18 billion. And of that, he thoroughly expects more than 50% will have been fraud. $9 billion. How is that not the front page, top of the headline of every news organization on the planet in Minnesota? And it wasn't. You're fighting an uphill battle, Representative, to get the word out what's really going on.
What it says to me is that there's systemic weaknesses that existed. It existed in Minnesota in fraud. There was it was stated in 2017. It was a much lower number in the millions, not the billions, but it was stated in long before I got there, and it's continued in various forms from 2018 to 2025, allowing widespread fraud, in state administered programs. And so you have to ask, like, how did this happen? Because this isn't just like an individual one-off thing. The message in the papers tends to be, there's just nothing to see. There's no shiny object. Look over here. And it's right in front of our eyes. And so how I see it is, Minnesota Nice has been completely exploited. There's no opportunity to be Minnesota naive, or the programs that we valued as Minnesota Nice won't exist anymore because of the fraud. And so it's like the Great Awakening right now. And the real Minnesota miracle is going to be cleaning up aisle 8, or really the whole store. So that's going to be the miracle coming. And I believe it can. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we've got a lot of fraud. It's not a little. It's documented in the billions, and it makes me sick for the people that are working 2 to 3 jobs back home where I live, and work hard to try to provide for their families. So I look at it on the sense of core services we should be paying for. There's such an opportunity, and there's such a missed opportunity to get the money where it truly belonged, because it's a 3-ring circus of fraud happening in our state.
Oh, absolutely is. And and here's what gets me. We pretend, maybe not you and I, maybe this, some people in the state pretend. I would tell you from the top on down, the governor, lieutenant governor, the lieutenant governor, by the way, seems to be getting a ride on this. I don't know if she has to be in meetings or not. I don't know how much that goes that way. But between her and then all the commissioners of all these departments, they seem to want me to believe they had no idea. And yet the story from this guy yesterday, 2 Philadelphia guys were told, hey, come here. It's easy as all get out. You're going to make a boatload of money. It's Anthony Jefferson and the Lester Brown. I got to do it. They showed up.
Yeah.
$3.5 million. You're telling me there's a pipeline of information to Philadelphia to come here and steal from us, and the people in charge didn't know it was happening? That's ludicrous to even believe.
Well, let's just say, when you allow system failure and you don't have the internal controls, whether you're a small business or a large business like the state of Minnesota, and on top of the fact is they grew government in St. Paul by 40% in 2023. So they stacked on more, and the agencies fully aware that they had no systems in place. The legislative audit has been saying this over and over and over. So instead of taking the $18.5 billion surplus we had and investing in forensic audits and system updates, where we have 87 counties and they have computer systems that are from the 1990s, when I first took my first job at a county nursing home, it's the same. So finally in 2025, we forced funding one of the systems, which is called an SSIS system, which should have been, it's the same system was around in 1991. It's finally going to get upgraded. So they just allowed mismanagement where there were silos of nobody's talking to each other. Hey, I didn't know a thing. The department's just right across the street, but don't ask any questions. Don't ask, don't tell, and let's just pretend it's not happening. Don't even go visit the site in Minneapolis, St. Paul, where all the surveyors are. To just see if it's happening. Would have been simple.
Well, there's a lot of simple answers. I will give you this, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. I got to go to break. You would think, because I think this started in 2016 or 17 with the child care debacle.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was in 2016, 2017. We find out about it. It may not have been in the billions, like you said, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I would have imagined that with these smart people that we elect to become our representatives and senators and governors and all the rest, that someone didn't suggest one law. Should you be indicted or looked at for one felony ripping off our DHS, you are not allowed to get money from any of the others until you're cleared. We're going to talk about another person they talked about yesterday at that meeting, which it just boils my backside. Can we?
Yeah, me too. It's what normal audits would happen in any business. in any school, in any county, in any system. It's basic systems. This is not.
Yeah. Yeah, this
really,
is Excel spreadsheet spread across, on a group email.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this. We'll talk about it. I've got a Representative Natalie Zeleznikar.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
I want to talk to you about saving a veteran's life this holiday season by giving to the Bravo Zulu House. This year, more than 6,000 veterans have taken their lives, leaving their families devastated this Christmas. Veteran suicide can be stopped, but we must fund solutions like the Bravo Zulu House right here in Minnesota, the only all-military sober home helping veterans with PTSD. Please save a veteran's life by donating today at bravozuluhouse.org.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
She's Representative Natalie Zeleznikar. Love having her on the show. Representative, here's what we're talking about going into the break. So one of the people that of the 5 or 6 that they talked about yesterday, this Asha Hassan, pled guilty in a $14 million scheme. This is this autism thing. I believe this was out of St. Cloud. She happens to also be named in the Feeding Our Future scandal as one of the people they're going after. Representative, we've been doing this for 17 to 25, 8 years. Are you telling me there isn't a list of the people we're going after for fraud and it isn't posted? You know, back in the day, remember go to a gas station and somebody written a bad check and they'd post their picture up. The guy's got bad checks. We can't even do that amongst ourselves in the state government?
It seems pretty simple that you wouldn't pre-approve any provider without meaningful verification. That's like a basic 101 thing that you don't have to have a PhD, a master's degree, college degree, any degree to know basic math and basic systems of checks and balances. There's no way to do this type of create shell companies, have beneficial ownership. Why aren't they disclosing who the owners are right up front? Yep. I mean, that's a pre-approval system check. I mean, it's shocking. It's appalling.
This is, if you will, a company that has a $72 billion biannual budget. $72 billion, and you can't tell me, and this is all in the Department of Human Services. This is within the same department. They're not saying, hey, these guys are doing this. They're not having Monday morning meetings where we leak in cash, nothing like that. And now let me throw you this. The Attorney General yesterday, I'm not sticking up for Menards. Have I shopped there? You bet. Have I ever got their 11% discount? Yep, I guess sometimes it's such a small amount I didn't even want to send in. And it was a whole thing. Yeah. Everybody knew it was a whole thing. It's written on the side of the bags. It's a whole thing.
Yep. I
could care less that A.G. Ellison was able to win a verdict to get $600,000, $1 million back to Minnesota. I think it's 600,000 back to Minnesota, and they're going to clean up the 11% off Menards crap. I could care less. This is going on. $14 million from one woman who's also under Feeding Our Futures indictment. You know what I'm saying? This is ridiculous.
It's a example of there's nothing to see here, but here's something shiny. Here's what I'm doing that's absolutely spectacular. And Minnesotans are like, what? I mean, we got $8 billion that went out the door, $9 billion when you're listening to the federal prosecutors. And thank God the federal prosecutors came into Minnesota, or we'd be dealing with $600,000 returns instead of, hey, maybe we should stop $9 billion from exiting our state.
It just seems like gross neglect. Let me ask you this. Is there, when it comes to misconduct, I get the idea we can vote him out. Minnesotans, if you are tired of this, you can vote them out. Yeah. I understand that process. Yeah. Is there any other culpability? If you're running DHS, if you're running the Feeding Our Futures program, if you're running any of these and you see the massive amount of money going out that can't possibly work for the number of people in it, I think this housing thing, somebody's approved 3,000 more beds than we have disabled people in the state of Minnesota. What?
And
okay, go ahead.
Basic checks and balances that, I mean, I've said all along that leadership starts at the top, and then the leader is responsible for building their team. And so, I mean, the buck stops at the top leaders and the commissioners, and all the commissioners are still there. That's the most interesting thing to me. I mean, that would not happen in private business. Rest assured, if you steal this level of cash, you steal a penny, you steal a dollar, there's code of conduct and code of ethics. And I believe it's pretty simple that it should be happening in Minnesota too. So you're right. I think the voters can surely show up at the polls, but in the meantime, accountability is the job of the agencies and the commissioners to be self-directing that. And especially with the dollars that we're pumping into state government funding. I mean, government has grown 40% and we can't figure out that fraud's going out the door in terrible ways, hurting Minnesotans while they're working 2 to 3 jobs back home. I mean, it's an embarrassment to our state. I mean, Minnesota Nice has been a great quality, and we should continue to be Minnesota Nice, but Minnesota Naive, no more. I mean, we have to reconcile that there's been true fraud happening.
Yeah, but reconcile. This is my point. Like, I know the gal that does the pull tabs, at the Legion. And they scrutinize it from top to bottom, everything which way, because they don't want to get in trouble, and God love them for doing it. It's this because the state of Minnesota come shut you down, and you're okay. But we don't do that at the state. Is anybody held culpable as far as legally, or is it just like we did what we did with the commissioner there? That commissioner is no longer here. Is this $9 billion swept under the rug? Is it just gone, and no one will be held accountable except this gal who's 14 million was, took too big advantage, got too big a number?
I mean, honestly, the governor has the authority to fire commissioners if they're not doing their job. The legislative departments do not have the authority, to my understanding, that it would not be the scope of a House of Representatives or the Senate. That's why we have a governor, and that's why you have commissioners. So the governor's responsibility would be to fire a commissioner if they're not performing and you have epic fraud happening. But to your other point, the Office of Inspector General needs to be a forensic separate agency, because you can't have the fox guarding the hen house. So many times, if you have the auditor right inside the Department of Human Services, they don't want to make their own agency look bad. There's that just natural inherent tendency that could be there. So you had to anticipate that. If you have an agency that's outside of the government that's actually doing checks and balances, that's when you have authentic accountability. And so we should have had that passed in 2025. I hope I'll be back on the table in 2026, regardless of what party the governor is. That's how you protect the people.
So what I hear you say, Representative, is that no one's going to be criminally held accountable. This money is gone. Maybe we can clean it up from here. And if you are one of those people that are hoping, like all get out, that Donald Trump is going to send you a $2,000 check, and aren't you going to be a lucky camper? Realize that all of these people stole millions upon millions from you, and nothing's going to change. I tell you, people should just be infuriated right now. I appreciate you coming on. I really do.
Oh, I love to be on. And Merry Christmas to all your listeners, too.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll get you back on right away in 2026.
We'll
Appreciate you.
2026.
All right. Sounds good.
Yep, bye-bye.
Representative Natalie Zeleznikar on the Al Travis Show.